First of all, without any further delay, I would like to first of all invite Dr. Sitzel Grimstedt, who is the Vice Chairperson for ICA-AP, ICA-AP Committee on Cooperative Research. She is based out at Australia, and she is one of the adjunct faculty at Griffith Business School. And so she is going to just brief about today's objectives and why we are doing this discussion today, and why is it required, and uh, how much and why is it so much relevant for the researchers as well. So with that, over to you, Dr. Sisal, please.
Thank you, Naveen. My name is Sissel Grimstad. I am the Vice Chair of the ICA Asia Pacific Research Committee. I would like to say good morning, good day, and good evening to the participants in the colloquium, and I'm really happy to see you all here. This colloquium that we're having today is really interesting and something that we would like to support in the research committee, because one of the topics for the International Year of Cooperatives is that we need to collaborate more, not only regionally, locally, but also globally and across the academic, practitioner, development, organization divides. And so we are very keen to support this initiative. But first, I would like to acknowledge the Awabakal people, as we do here in Australia, which is the people where I live and work from. It is in the Newcastle, city of Newcastle in New South Wales, Australia. And I want to pay my respect to Indigenous elders past, present, and emerging. As we do here in Australia, we always open our meetings with this acknowledgement. And now, welcome to Mr. Corbinian Merz from the German Development Agency, the DGRV. I hope I've got that correct. And the wonderful talk he will give us on collaboration, on the collaboration across borders. And particularly important for us is to get the insight about how successful, what does successful collaboration look like. And I'm hoping that we will get lots of insights from his presentation, and also to spur our imagination on how we as academics and researchers can also support this type of collaboration, how we can maybe play a role in this type of collaboration going forward, which I think is so important in the region, for the region. I know that Mona Lisa, you're going to talk a little bit more about the Asia-Pacific Cooperative Development Platform, which this talk is kind of part of. So maybe you want to talk a bit more, say some few words about that before we start the talk.
Thank you so much, Sitsa. And before I move ahead, I would like to thank ICA-AP Committee on Cooperation Research for jointly hosting this webinar with Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Platform, where we are going to discuss about how cooperation across borders matters. And just to introduce myself, my name is Mona Lisa Kashyap, and I am Program Coordinator under ICA-EU Partnership Project. And since we are talking about ICA-EU Partnership and Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Platform, allow me to just give an overview what this partnership is all about and what this platform is. We have started last year. What is going we are trying to do under this platform. So I'll just share my screen and share my presentation. Give me a sec. Hope the presentation is visible, Nabil. Is it okay to move ahead?
Yes, yeah, we can move ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. So just to give an overview of ICA-EU partnership agreement, in the year 2016, our International Cooperative Alliance Asia Pacific has entered into an agreement with European Commission, where it was more like a 4 years long project, and the agreement was focused on how cooperatives can create a space for the sustainable development achievement. And this agreement was materialized from a long term of years of advocacy that was done through a Cooperatives Europe Development Platform. We call it CEDP. And it was almost, I would say, an 8 years of advocacy that helps us to formalize an partnership agreement, a project partnership agreement with European Commission. And currently, we are in the second phase of the project, and this started last year in April 2024. And this project is for 54 months, where the theme is how cooperatives, people-centered businesses for sustainable, democratic, and inclusive development can work along, and how we can also be cooperatives can be a agent for achieving the sustainable development goals by 2030. So under this project, we are working under 4 work streams that help us to contribute in achieving the SDGs. And the 4 work streams are focused on capacity building for member organization. That's the first work stream. And the second work stream is focused on research and education. Third work stream is advocacy and partnership. And then, of course, when we talk about this year is the International Year of Cooperatives, where we are trying to bring visibility and communication is the last work stream. So just to give you a brief about what are the kind of activities we have done so far in the first year of the project. Currently, we are in the second year of the project, and in the first year, we have done a kind of a training on cooperative governance and business. So there's the one kind of online training that we did, and there's also a training that was the members was wanted on communications, digital branding. So that was done in Malaysia in the February this year. Then we also had a kind of a strategic dialogue for along with the FAO and ICA Africa region, which was focused on how cooperatives can build and contribute to the food system development. So that was happened in January this year in Morocco, where of course we had launched our Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Platform in September last year. And that was more like a online launch, and then followed by an in-person meeting in the November 2024, which was during our regional conferences. And then along with that, there are some kind of research activities was also done in this under this project, where we had released a Fiji, like a country snapshot, where we try to understand the cooperative law and try to bring a very brief outlet that can help us to understand how the cooperatives is in that country altogether. So we have already released Fiji, Malaysia, Iran, Bhutan, and many more are still in the progress. That's going to happen this year. Then as a part of research, of course, we are trying to understand how the legal framework of the cooperatives is working. So that kind of research is also happening. And these are like a few activities that we did in the first year of the project, just to list a few. As a part, as I mentioned, that we had launched Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Platform last year in September 2024. Just to tell you the background, how and why it was being started. During the 2016 International Summit of Cooperative, that had happened, that was organized by ICA along with OCDC, the idea and the discussion was revolving around how we can connect the cooperative organization together for the international development. And since we have already seen ICA-EU partnership agreement materialized through the similar platform that we are calling CEDP, Cooperatives Europe Development Platform. So that platform has actually helped to build upon the agreement with the European Commission. So guided by those background and the initiatives, the outcome was really good. The other regions like America, followed by Asia Pacific, plan to launch the same platform where members can come together, and then the members who are really interested in the international development, not just in their country but also within other outside their country, they can come together and advocate with other multilateral and bilateral organization and try to bring a space for a co-sharing and learning. So after the CEDP that was launched in 2008, the America regions of International Cooperative Alliance launched a similar platform that they were calling Cooperatives of America Development Platform. And then we launched for Asia Pacific region, we have launched the similar platform that we are calling Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Platform. And it has been just, I would say, a start for us. We are still in the preliminary phase. We are trying to create a common agenda among our members. And just to have currently under the Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Platform, we have 10 members, and DGRV is one who are today present here. And I have also seen Ms. Savitri Singh, so she who is a part of NCUI, and NCUI is also a member of Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Platform. So guided by this, we have started this Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Platform. And just to talk about the objectives overall, how we are trying to understand and make utilize of this platform altogether. So this platform is going to serve or provide a space or a platform for our members to facilitate their knowledge exchange and just to understand their best practices from each other. Because when we talk about the international cooperation, but considering all the countries and the nations are very diversified, the communication and the information exchange is one where through which we can understand the common agenda and the common goal around which we can work upon. So that's the one objective that where through APCDP we are trying to create upon. Then we also, the other objective is to map the APCDP member activities, where we would try to understand how each member wants to work in which geography, what is their priorities. So we are just trying to synchronize the priorities of our members so that a common path can be created. Then we also wanted to understand from each other's learnings, the kind of best practices sharing. And last but not the least, we also want to work around advocate for the cooperative development. So when we talk about the cooperative development, how we can create a space to advocate with the policy maker or the joint funding agencies to materialize the kind of advocacy into a programmatic path. That's how we have done, as I have given the example, like the CEDP. So at the end goal is where we are trying to understand and see how we can jointly put proposals together. So it's the kind of another platform, another objective that we are going through. And currently, I would say this platform is very in inception phase. We are just trying to have a more visibility. We are trying to bring the visibility of this platform, and we are trying to understand what is the common agenda that the all members would like to work. So with this, I would like to end my presentation, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mona Lisa. Thank you for sharing the overview of the APCDP platform. I hope that it would be very helpful for the participants so that they would understand that yes, in Asia Pacific we have a particular dedicated platform for cooperatives now, which works towards promoting cooperatives in their particular countries and also across borders in the other countries. So if you are having any questions related to Mona Lisa's session, we will be having question and answer session and discussion later on after completing all the presentations today. So without any further delay, now I would like to invite Mr. Corbinian who is Coordinator Secretary General for International Refusenion Union (IRU). He has been working as project coordinator at IRU since 2020, and he has been engaged with the German cooperative movement since 2015. Initially, he started as project assistant at DGRV. Especially, he was initially involved in Laos PDR. Then he transitioned towards a different position at DGRV headquarters. And since then, he has been working as project coordinator for the ASEAN regional team and promoting the DGRV projects in the region. So with that, I would like to invite Mr. Corbinian for today's session. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Naveen and dear Mona Lisa, for the hearty welcome. Thank you, Dr. Sitzel, for the great and amazing welcome words. And thanks to all of you. I mean, we are 35 people. That's an amazing number. I think this is a very good start in today. Yeah, because for Germany, it's still relatively early. The working day just started. For many of you, you're almost done with your lunch break, or you're done with your lunch break. It's going to the afternoon coffee, I suppose. So it's good to have like 20 minutes, 25 minutes to keep a brief and yeah, have a short presentation. So, there's more background noises, but that's all right. In the meantime, I tried to share my screen, and hopefully this will work. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, Corbin, we can see.
Okay, is it now in full screen?
Yes, now it is in a full screen.
Or is it showing the presenter notes? I'm not sure, to be honest.
No, we can.
It's presenter notes.
Presenter, yeah, there is,
yes. Sorry for this. Okay, let me see that I change it. Is it now showing the correct screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Very good. Excellent. Yeah, thank you for the feedback. Yeah, so thank you for the invitation. It's actually an honor for me to be here. It came by surprise, but it's a good opportunity, a good chance, and we are glad to be part of the platform as DGRV, as a German organization, of course. And I felt very well after leaving Delhi last November, dear Mona Lisa, when we, so to say, had our piloting session for the platform. And I think we are still well on the way. And let's see, I collected a couple of thoughts, a couple of brainstorming ideas, how to cooperate further in the coming slides. And yeah, let's discuss later on. Maybe also to say, I would like to keep it relatively simple. So if you have spontaneous questions or anything, maybe Mona Lisa and Naveen, you can watch the chat and we can basically speak about it right away, whatever you prefer. Yeah, every presentation requires a little bit of background, so I apologize for a couple of background notes before we are coming to the more exciting parts. And so I'm going to speak a little bit about our roots in Germany and the cooperative system. We basically have these two gentlemen as our cooperative pioneers. Everyone in your country has a certain pioneer, a certain cooperative pioneers in the background for sure. For us, it's Raiffeisen, who is also part of our name, DGRV, German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation. And there's also Hermann Schulze-Delitzsch, who was equally important in promoting cooperatives in Germany around, 180, 170 years ago. So it started in mid-19th century here in Germany. So we have a little bit of a longer tradition, not as long as England, for example, but still pretty all right. You can see here on the slide what was the main motivation by the two people. Yeah, Raiffeisen, who was more in the countryside working as a mayor, he saw the poverty for the farmers, the indebtedness, the huge loans they had to take to finance their business. the poverty which was increasing and so on. So he brought up the idea of self-help organizations for farmers, established the first saving credit union with the primary objective to loans and local savings mobilization. And the other colleague, Hermann Schulze-Delitzsch, was more active in the cities. He tried to group artisans and craftsmen for bulk buying and access to financial services. Schulze-Delitzsch is or became a very important person also because he was the main actor in implementing the first German cooperative law, which is still into place today. And that I think this was his main work and most important work done actually. So I guess these values and principles being mentioned here, they are definitely not new to all of you. You are certainly well aware of the ICA principles. So we are always saying our German cooperative system is a strongly values and principle-based cooperative system, primarily on self-help, self-responsibility, and self-governance. So they are our key pillars for each cooperative business we are having here. Of course, we also have to include something like solidarity, democracy, social responsibility, cooperation among cooperatives, and many other of these principles and values you're very familiar. But I wanted to highlight especially these first three principles because they are also at core of our work in abroad. And I believe they are also good core values for our platform, if I may say so. Okay, and then I was just playing around a couple of days ago and I was asking actually ChatGPT, what do you associate with Raiffeisen cooperatives? And this is the result the AI brought to the screen. And I think we can all agree that these are still essential, very essential points for cooperative businesses. We are all living on, and we are putting our energy on. We're talking about trust, democracy, people-centered organizations. They are definitely at the core of each cooperative. Also, when we are speaking about community engagement, things like financial inclusion, access to markets from an economic perspective, youth and participation, sustainability, of course, solidarity. So I think this is no major surprise, but it's still a good, it was still a good result because I think it strengthens our perspective on what we are having on cooperatives, and I think we are on the right track as the AI is conform with our cooperative ideas and values. So some background information on the organization I'm working for, DGRV, as indicated, German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation. You see here the name Raiffeisen once again in the name. It was actually established in 1972, so we have a good 50 years of experience. And since then, we are also doing this international cooperation work since 1972, starting in Latin America and then expanding further on. We will see in a second. So for the German cooperative organization, we're actually the national apex organization. For all cooperatives, when it's renewable energy cooperatives, bank, agriculture, consumer, trade, industry, any cooperative except one sector, this is the housing cooperatives. They are separate. They are not united under the DGRV roof. So you see here there are 1,800 other housing cooperatives. They have a separate umbrella organization. Some key figures, there are currently around 5,000 cooperatives. It sounds pretty low, I think, especially compared to India, for example, where we have a couple of 100,000, maybe even 1 million cooperatives, and many other countries. A couple of decades ago, the number was much higher than these 5,000 cooperatives. The relatively low number compared is that we had seen many mergers over the past 20, 30 years, especially in the banking sector, which is due to the immense regulations and so on, for also within a European Union context. And those small, simple banks, they were not able to compete in this environment alone. So especially the banks were merging more and more together to big banks in order to deal with those increasing requirements and so on. And also, of course, well, when you're bigger, you're also stronger in the market. That's certainly another reason. We have around 19.5 million members compared to the overall inhabitants in Germany of 83, 84 millions around this. This is quite significantly. But I have to say most of these members are coming from cooperative banks. So out of these 19.5 millions, around 17.8 or so million are actually members of cooperative banks. So this is a brief overview of our current international projects. We are currently active in 26 countries worldwide. You're seeing here, huge part of it takes place in Latin America. Actually, this was also the area where we started in the 1970s. Content-wise, this is strongly linked to the banking sector when we are speaking about supervision, bank protection schemes, and so on. This is actually taking place in Latin America in a substantial amount. Green finance is another key word that came into play over the past years. When we are moving more towards Africa to the reddish colors here, then it's a kind of a mixed. So it's both banking and agriculture interventions in Africa. And for Asia, I would say it's more agriculture than anything else, where we are trying to intervene. So for agricultural cooperatives. Of course, there's also a little bit of banking when we're talking about saving credit unions, for example. But all in all, the majority of supported cooperative institutions are found in agriculture. Okay, what we are actually doing. Well, we are mainly German government financed. I should say this in advance. So we are actually not financed by the German cooperatives, to speak very open, which has its reasons. But we are mainly financed by the German government. So our activities are also strongly in line with the German government policies in the respective countries. And our main goal is actually to promote sustainable entrepreneurial, so the economic perspective here, self-sustaining cooperatives. And I think that it contains three keywords we can all agree on: sustainability, economic orientation of cooperatives, and self-sustaining, so the sustainability aspect of a cooperative structure. How do we do that? It's not like that we are only working on the primary level, working with primary cooperatives, or that we are only working on a policy level, on a governmental level. That's definitely not the case. We are always saying we try to intervene on all three levels, meaning we are trying to work on a primary level with the normal cooperatives. One of our focus then lies on the so-called network structures, which is mainly federations when it comes to auditing, for example, but also central cooperatives for the agricultural cooperatives. And then also, of course, we try at least to be active on a more governmental level when it comes to the regulatory framework, so the appropriate framework conditions, cooperative laws, for example, but anything else that is related to this. On average, I would say the main interventions take place on an intermediate level when we are speaking about federations and auditing, supervision systems, internal control systems, and so on. And then a little bit of education and training, of course, plays also a role. So now I thought I bring you two examples of countries we are currently active in Southeast Asia. One of it is India, the other one is Cambodia. India, where it's more in finance with the self-help groups, in Cambodia, where it's more in the agricultural sector. So starting with India, I think we first have to say you're much better aware of this than I am. India is a huge country with a massive corporate background. I think it started in 1905, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a long tradition. So you have an enormous and vibrant cooperative system actually in India. We started around the millennium change, 2001, 2002, with some smaller interventions, but the proper work actually started in 2007. So it's already a couple of years ago, primarily with the support of self-help groups for women. And then also with a certain focus on the federation establishment, speaking about auditing for these groups. This has been a major pillar of our work. We are lucky that we are actually working with a very strong partnering organization in India, APMAS. They are situated in Hyderabad. I could imagine some of you are aware of them. They're also a resource support giving organization in India for self-help groups, but also for farmer producer organizations. We never had a project office there. This is a difference compared to the other countries we are working in. But as indicated, we were lucky to work with APMAS. In 2018, we shifted a little bit towards the so-called farmer producer organizations, but we did basically the same what we did for the self-help groups. And in 2021, there was a little bit of a climate aspect incoming with the so-called climate smart villages, which are basically farmer producer organizations that are implementing sustainable agricultural methods. What are we actually doing? What have we done? As indicated, was mainly the support of federations for auditing purposes, for service provisions to the member self-help groups. We always wanted to establish these economic-oriented, but also economic-oriented and sustainable structures that also brings a social benefit to its members, especially for women. And the third big pillar we were always striving for is to establish those structures in the most appropriate, autonomous, and independent way. This comes back to the principles of self-help, self-responsibility, and self-administration especially. So this took a big part of our work. We tried to establish those auditing federations, and we also provided capacity building activities to cooperative members, self-help group members, but also to the institutions, the federations, training courses. We wrote a couple of manuals with basic cooperative knowledge, training of trainers programs. That's all definitely not new to you, staff development, accountants and auditors, and so on. So Naveen kindly asked me to share a couple of numbers of actually an evaluation of impact evaluation to show the results as we are talking about successes, success stories. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a full success story. That's I mean, there's always room to work more and to improve more. That's definitely the case. But I would say that all in all, the numbers you are seeing here, they speak a little bit for themselves. That we could on a smaller level in 1 to 2 federal states in India, we could definitely make a change for the supported self-help groups. When you're looking at these numbers here, that was also reflected by this evaluation in 2019. And personally, I'm also a little bit proud that we were able to strengthen also the overall social and economic situation, especially of women in the respective groups. And I think they are really good to go now. Almost 100% of them are sustainable institutions that are working in a profitable way. And I guess we were not on the worst track all in all. And so that's good. And we are planning another evaluation for the coming year, then also evaluating the perspective for the farmer producer organizations. So then thinking about a couple of lessons learned over the past 16, 17 years from our Indian experience. I mean, as indicated, this is just a small point of the work we've done and also a small geographical part of India where we were intervening in 2 to 5 federal states out of these 18 massive states. But still, I think we can draw some lessons learned and success factors. I think one of them was actually that we had some gradual approach when it comes to auditing, but also for standardization procedures. Standardization procedures for accounting, for example, also responding to international requirements, is international bookkeeping and accounting requirements. Another big point, of course, and you're probably all doing this, is capacity building. And here, capacity building, but at all levels. So it's not just the director of a federation, for example, who should get some training. Also, the staff should be trained properly in what they are doing. And of course, also the primary cooperative members, they should be well aware of what actually their rights and duties are as a cooperative members, that they are really having a voice in the overall process. The third really big point, and I think this is a very important one actually, is that you cannot build cooperatives, proper cooperatives, from one day to the other. It's not a 24-hour task, and one training is not sufficient. I think we need to plan in really a lot of time. It's daily work over years. It's effort, for sure. In order to have some real institutional change, also some change in the minds of people that are relevant for the overall sector. So a long-term engagement is definitely very important. For India, the women-focused approach, and I think that's also the case for all other countries, has been pretty successful. I think there are statistics that women cooperatives are generally more successful than men-led cooperatives, to speak very open. Also, when we are speaking about Africa, for example. And I believe we can make a strong social and economic impact by this. I was talking about standardization. The benefit from this is also that it creates a big amount of transparency, and this is also essential for each cooperative institution. Training was highlighted, and then we're speaking about long-term engagement for sure, but it's not a never-ending story. At one day, each cooperative structure, whether it's a primary cooperative, a federation, or also on a policy level, they need to be able to operate by themselves. It's not cannot be a never-ending story, because then we would hinder the principle of self-help actually. So always also think about some kind of exit plan, yeah, that they are really capable of operating on an independent base, these cooperative structures. So yeah, that was when we are speaking about India. Now we are coming to Cambodia, as indicated, more for the agricultural sector. And this is just one part of the Cambodian project. Actually, I picked out in order to highlight what actually cooperatives can achieve when we are also speaking about international markets and the promotion of cooperative agricultural products. And there were many other activities done in Cambodia by DGRV. For example, there's a cooperative law for agricultural cooperatives that was mainly promoted by DGRV over the past 15 years. But I think expanding into international markets might also be of a big interest for many of you listening today here. So in Cambodia, we actually started with supporting pepper producing cooperatives. Right away from the beginning. It was also a long step. It was not a 24 hours task. But in the end, I think after like 10 years, we actually achieved that they were able to export to Europe their pepper. They had all the quality necessities and so on. And still today, their supply chains from pepper cooperatives in Cambodia to Germany and France for providing pepper, and this is great. I think this is really a success story, actually, because it also brings a good margin. It brings benefits to the members and to the country overall. A couple of years ago, then there was some diversification. We added cashew nuts and mangoes. And what is important here to add is also that it included the value-added processing. Often it is the case that if it's cooperatives or not, often it is the case that these countries or these groups are exporting raw material products, but they don't provide as a high margin as it would be when it's a value-added processing in the background. And I think this is really a big deal, because this brings more benefit once again to the cooperative. So I think it was last year when the first shipment of these processed cashews and dried mango was actually reaching Europe, and yeah, it's continuing. And overall, you can see here with the impact, the income increase for the farmers, new employment opportunities were created. Yeah, and overall, we had also a strengthening of the bargaining power with exporters and retailers. I think this is also one of these big points when we're speaking about cooperatives. Yeah, alone you're not as strong as in a group, and this was also the case here. So once again, some lessons learned we can draw from the Cambodia example. Here in the right background, you see, by the way, a package of the dried mangoes. And there's also in the picture above, there was a trade fair where they promoted the products pretty successfully. So when we are talking about agricultural cooperatives and production of materials, I think we need to speak about quality standards, in order to really get the margins running, because they are essential in order to reach out to new markets. Yeah, so processing, certification, proper handling, and so on. That was the key to accessing the European Union market, and for all other markets, that's also the case. Market linkages, so being active on trade fairs, but also in cooperative networks like ours today, for example. That's also a good point. The value addition I was speaking about. Each cooperative structure relies on a strong member participation. Yeah, it's only running through the members and through, of course, good and well-trained staff. But the members are at the key, at the bottom, at the key. And they really ensure a fair benefit sharing and also a reinvestment into the cooperative itself. And I think all in all, this what we are speaking about in the past 2 minutes is a good replication model that could be well applied also to your countries in order to reach out to those high value crops. So that was more from an economic perspective, from a cooperative economic perspective. And this is why I wanted to add the slide here as well as one of the vital aspects for cooperative in our opinion. Because a cooperative is actually not a social business. It's not a social institution from our regard. Of course, the members are at the center. It always needs to be member oriented, and it also provides community benefits, that's for sure. But at the primary level, a cooperative is a business institution. So it has to follow certain economic principles in the respective market. It needs to be competitive with other businesses, if they are cooperative or not, does not matter. They need to remain competitive, and they need to be able to meet those changing markets. I think one very prominent example is the COVID-19 pandemic, where we had huge upsets in markets. And yeah, I think cooperatives are good instruments, good engines to meet those respective challenges coming from market upheavals. But I think we need to be aware of these 3 aspects always and at any time when we are speaking about cooperative promotion. And here I tried to collect a couple of key success factors from our 50 years of engagement in these cooperation projects, and just summarize them up. As you can see, some of them we have already highlighted, so I will just pick out a couple of them here. The legal basis, for example, we will have another slide in a second on this. I think it is very important to have a proper regulatory framework. A country with cooperatives but without a law, or at least some kind of framework regulation, it's very hard that those cooperative structures at the primary level get going, when there's no proper regulation or also no support schemes for cooperatives. That's definitely a kind of hardship. When we are speaking about cooperatives, we always need to think about a multi-level network system. So it's not just about the primary cooperatives. They are very important, but each primary cooperative, they cannot survive at long term without support structures. And this is when federations or central cooperatives come into play as service providing organizations, as auditing providing organizations, as overall support institutions for the primary cooperatives, so that they can really operate on a sustainable level. And then, of course, as indicated again before, the regulatory framework as a kind of 3rd pillar that makes the overall system complete. Yeah. The audit, because DGRV is very big in auditing, I need to highlight it very often here. So the compulsory audit, we are having it actually into our law that it's done by the cooperative federation. So each cooperative, primary cooperative, needs to be a member of a federation, and they are being audited yearly. And I think this is really one of the key success factors to provide stability and also transparency also towards the members and so on. The training qualification system, a good training system in order to increase knowledge of staff, but also for the members, as indicated for the India country example, for example, plays certainly a big role as well. And when we are later on talking about banks, for example, the protection scheme and so on, saving guarantee scheme, that are other big points that are very relevant. Yeah, but I think for the moment you see this here, you get the presentation in advance, and let's move on, because there are 2 points I would like to highlight once again. One is the legal aspect, and one is actually the relationship between cooperatives and the state. And I think especially this one here, the relationship between cooperatives and the state, it's always a bit of a tricky relationship, because we are absolutely all aware that in some countries we cannot avoid the interference of the state in cooperatives at some level. But we are still convinced that one of the success reasons for German cooperatives is actually that we have a clear regulation and also separation in that regard. So this is what you're seeing here, those 4 points. This is how it is done in Germany, actually. So the state, the government, they provide the overall framework when it comes to regulatory questions, to the overall law, taxes, support mechanisms, and so on. But the state treats all legal forms equally. There are no benefit schemes or anything else for cooperatives. They are not treated under separate law or anything else. They are really treated equally to all other economic businesses. And I think this is also very important. And thirdly, the state does not interfere in any internal organization of the cooperatives. So they are not represented in the board of directors or so. They are not interfering in the businesses and in the statutes of a cooperative. This is all done by the cooperative alone. And at the same time, cooperatives do not perform any public task for the state. So it's a really clear separation. As indicated, I'm well aware this is not a blueprint for each and every country, definitely not. So we always have to see individually what is feasible. But also for economic success reasons, I think a relatively good separation, especially when it comes to the interference in the internal organization of a cooperative, is very important. And then was highlighting already before the cooperative law as enacted mainly by Hermann Schulze-Delitzsch a good 130 years ago. This is also something which is really important because it provides the framework, the level playing field for each cooperative businesses, defines what can a cooperative do legally, what can it not do, what is the relation to its members, and so on. Yeah, what is the question when it comes to the statutes, for example? It defines the business model, membership fees, for example, the compulsory membership in an auditing federation, and so on. So having these regulations is definitely equally important in our opinion. So, and then I was brainstorming for two. I hope we still have a little bit of time for 2-3 more slides on what might be relevant for you also as a platform for the APCDP platform. What we can do as promoting organizations in our respective countries and our projects. On the slide here, this is just some brainstorming I had done on challenges and how cooperatives actually can properly address them. So this is just some examples. Yeah, we can definitely discuss about this. Just some examples. So, for example, when we are having those weak legal frameworks, what could we do as promoting organizations? We could intervene into policy dialogue and advocacy with the respective governments. It's also a long process. Yeah, it's not a 24-hour task. It's a long process. How can we do with a limited capacity management? Then the solution might be to provide training, mentoring programs, peer learning networks. I think this is often an underrated aspect. Learning from peers, having these exchanges. Member engagement and how to increase it. innovative outreach tools, community-based events, online events, online tools. The thing what we are doing today is something, for example, and then these kind of external shocks. I was highlighting the COVID-19 pandemic, resilience strategies, diversifying the services, and so on. So that was just some brainstorming. And then, sorry, I need to close the window. There's some ambulance incoming. So that's better. So some collaboration opportunities for APCDP members. Also just some brainstorming ideas. We can definitely speak about this. I was just highlighting it, the peer-to-peer exchanges. Once again, I really think this is an underrated tool. We should take benefit of more often to organize regular exchange between our organizations, whether it's virtual or in person, sharing best practices on different cooperative topics that are relevant. We could do joint training development tools, materials, toolkits, e-learning courses, anything that basically comes to your mind. Of course, there are already many training tools available already by ILO and other organizations, by you probably. But to sharing them is already a good starting point. Also, knowledge sharing on any relevant aspect. Youth and women empowerment. So I think Asia Pacific, ICA is on a good track with the youth participation and integration of youth in cooperatives and so on. Also for Europe, we have a similar network. I think this is really a good starting point. In your countries, you probably have your own youth networks. Also, perhaps when it comes to the role for women in cooperatives. And then digitalization, I think it's something we cannot avoid. This will become a more prominent topic in the coming years, and that will strongly affect cooperatives. To implement more digital tools, for example, in the banking sector. But I think in Asia you're probably actually further ahead in these kinds of regards than we are actually in Germany when we are speaking about digitalization. So yeah. I was thinking about some recommendations for APCDP and probably also beyond. So some key points we can maybe take away. I said it often enough today. Supporting cooperatives, building up those structures at any level, they are not a short time task. They are really a long-term task. So we should also think in long-term, actually, not have these quick wins by establishing one simple cooperative, have it running, but then it's going bankrupt 2 years later. That's not good. Our cooperative values and principle, this is something that unites us all. We should take benefit of this. I think ICA is good underway to do so. We should also be well aware of this on our platform level. Have this multi-tier level approach. So not just engage on a primary level, but also always think about secondary structures like federations. Think about the policy level for governmental promotion, for the regulatory framework and so on. See what is realistic and how we can approach it. The evidence-based advocacy, showing results of evaluations, for example, what changes cooperatives can bring with the International Year of Cooperatives. That's done in a nice way, in a very appealing way. But we should not just do it in 2025, but also beyond. And what we could also think about, have some kind of joint funding opportunities we are applying for. Together we are stronger than just one organization. That's probably not so easy to achieve, but in the long run, we could think about the European Union funding, for example, or anything else that is. I mean, there are many more. World Bank. Yeah. Okay, I think this is the last slide, and I apologize for the long speaking. Some general recommendations. I think that is really important. Transparency is always the foundation. So we should be as open and frank as possible to really build up those relationships that are important for promoting cooperative structures. Partnership as the driver. So you have seen in India, we are not there with a cooperative, with an own office, with an own project structure. We are working through a strong partnering organization, and this is pretty successful. So that might be also the solution for other contexts that really looking out for these strong partnering organizations, because they are there. They are really good organizations. And then you can intervene with, or you can support with by giving expertise, you can facilitate and so on. And then I just said this before, those values and principles we are having as cooperative organizations, I think they are great. They are amazing, and we should really really use them. And they should really guide us in our everyday life. I know it's not always as easy. That's definitely the case. Also here in Germany, I'm sometimes wondering for those really big cooperatives whether they are actually still following these principles and values when it comes to member promotion, the integration of members. I'm not sure. But still, for us, I'm convinced they should be at the heart of our work. And then, yeah, some general saying the future is collaborative. I'm personally very convinced that we are on the right track. The International Year shows it. What we are doing today, what we are doing in the future, what you're organizing, dear Mona Lisa, Naveen, and also Dr. Sitzel. That's great, what you're all doing in your countries. I'm pretty much convinced that it's the right way to go ahead. Yeah, so that was a lot of talking, and I apologize for this. I hope we did not overstep time too much. And nonetheless, I hope it was a little bit yeah, it was interesting in some way. It gave you some insights. Yeah, let's have an exchange. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you, Corbinian. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. I assume it was very insightful for our participants, and yeah, we got to know a lot about the projects that DGRV is doing. So, as we are already a little bit late, some 5 minutes from our timeline, so and we have some already registered questions in my Excel sheet that we have around 11 questions, and we have participants right now with us also. So what we can do is just if anyone wants to ask any particular questions, yeah, so you can raise your hand, and yeah, one by one we can introduce the questions. So we have first Mr. Babul Khanal from Nepal who wants to ask a question. Yes, Mr. Babul, you can unmute yourself now and put your question.
Yeah, thank you very much for a very, very impressive and comprehensive presentation. Yes, we received many information, not only from German story, but also from India, Cambodia, and other countries also. So, especially one thing I wanted to ask to the presenter that the compulsory affiliation in the auditing federation you mentioned in your somewhere in your slide here. So yes, we have regulatory frameworks. We have the regulatory bodies also. We have the federation also. The cooperative, primary cooperatives are themselves the business organization. Yeah. So the coherency of and the collaboration and the coordination of all stakeholders is very necessary. Yeah. So here in Nepal, I would like to share that we are facing some challenges in some problematic cooperatives that they are not, they have not been able to refund the members' deposit nowadays. Yeah, so we have more than 22 problematic cooperatives, and the government by making the provision in the act itself that they have established one management committee for the settlement of the problematic problematic cooperatives, and that management committee is doing something to settle the issue or the problem, especially for withdrawing or refunding the members' deposit. Yeah, so we think that there are some lapses in the government level also and in the cooperative level also. Although we have very good regulatory frameworks and the other procedures and standards and all those things. Yeah. So how you can you can motivate or you can encourage the primary cooperatives to be the member in the auditing committee, so that auditing federation can inspect or supervise those cooperatives, even if they are doing their business very well, or maybe they are not doing their business very well and they will be suggested. So how can you encourage, and what is your regulatory frameworks, that whether you can establish the federation, the auditing federation? Is it mandatorily established by law, or what is the system here? Could you please share your experiences, especially in the German experiences, in order to make the well-governed cooperatives in the country?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. First of all, I fully agree. Also, my impression is that Nepal has a very developed cooperative system. We are strongly related to NCBL, for example, and no, that's definitely a great system and very well on track. And I can also only share that it's the same impression what you just mentioned. What you actually told us here, that sounds all a bit familiar, because we had exactly the same issues like 120 years ago, 110 years ago, something like this. It was also actually only possible to solve this by making a membership compulsory in the federation, to have this yearly auditing, and a very proper auditing, a deep auditing. Yeah, that was really compulsory by law. So to force those primary cooperatives that they are being audited, and then of course also being audited by proper auditors and other people, because that was before an issue that people were auditing cooperatives or checking, supervising cooperatives that are not properly educated, and they overlooked issues. So training, and then having this compulsory auditing, that was only the solution for the German context. And sometimes it requires these regulatory enforcements to have this being implemented. And yes, as you just indicated, so we have 4 big federations in Germany. They were established by over the decades, actually by historic reasons. So it's not per se a requirement by law, but it's a requirement by law to have these federations auditing their members once a year. So that's a requirement. But the establishment of
any federation can audit their member, yeah?
Any cooperative federation, yes.
Right.
Yeah. But they need to be a proper federation with proper educated and qualified auditors and accountants. Yeah. Then they can do so. Yes.
Okay, and what would happen when the federation is themselves, they are very, very reluctant to improve the situation here, or whatever they saw, they are not able to solve here because of some malpractices here.
Yeah.
Because of the malpractices, they are not able to suggest directly that, oh, you should do that things, for the improvement of the cooperatives and for the sake of the members' deposit or something like that. They are very reluctant. I don't know whether there is some inclination, political inclination or something like that. Yeah. Yes, that those kind of factors are also working somewhere to make the cooperatives problematic.
I
In
see.
our
Okay.
experiences, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. Okay,
In
that's
that
an
case, what the government will do is, I think the government should intervene
Yeah.
at that time. And what is the relation between the government, German government, and the cooperative movement in such a case? Could you share? Is there any experiences?
Yeah, at some level that might be necessary, what we were just saying at some stage, actually. So, for example, speaking about cooperative banks and when it's not solvable through auditing, when it's no longer, when the problems are too big to solve. Actually, then there's an overarching banking law, an overarching banking institution, supervision institution that takes care of it then. And they are then having a check on the institution, whether it's actually savable or not. When it's not savable, when the problems are too big, well, then the institution needs to be dissolved, unfortunately. Often the protection scheme comes into play then. There's an banking protection scheme in play to at least have the member funds being saved, but the overall structures are then being dissolved. Luckily, this very rarely happens. Very rarely happens. Normally, what happens before is that they are merging with a bigger, stronger bank, for example, or other organization that does some reorganization internally. Then it might also mean the release of staff. Or there's also for the cooperative banks a scheme by the institution for cooperative banks that tries to protect each primary cooperative bank as well through expertise giving, through support mechanisms.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babel, for your question.
Yes.
Moving ahead with the next question, is there anyone else who would like to ask question directly? Okay. So we have a few questions which I received directly during the registration, and yeah, we'll be not able to take all the questions. So we will just stick to three key questions, and the first one is directed towards Kurban and you. So the question is, how are German cooperatives supporting their members in enhancing knowledge and skills beyond just providing credit support?
Yeah, thank you very much. Also a good question. I think this is an interesting point for each and everyone, for each and every country context, because the answer is relatively simple. There are basically two pillars we can divide on. One is that each cooperative can provide, if it's feasible to do so, training and education by its own, by providing trainings courses or also the funding to staff, for example, to participate at a certain training courses. So, for example, in Germany, some agricultural cooperatives offer technical workshops, farming practices, marketing, packaging, and so on. Some banks offer trainings on clients, services, SMEs, young entrepreneurs, for other financial topics. But the main education providing system in Germany actually is that we are having a structured academy. We have in general 5 academies, so-called cooperative academies, that are being financed by the federations, by the cooperative federations, and they are just there for providing training. And they are just providing a structured qualification framework. They are providing training courses in all relevant aspects. They are specialized in this for the cooperative context. And here, for example, cooperative managers, board members, but even also only normal members can participate. They are paid courses, so they are not for free, I have to admit. So you always have to pay a certain fee, but it's not that high, so it's feasible for the average person. Yeah, and for this there's a structured training process being delivered.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for addressing the question. Hopefully, the participant who has mentioned this question is in the session and has received the answer. Again, the next question is, could you elaborate on members' service delivery, especially in the context of 7 cooperative principles?
Okay. I hope I got the question correct. So it's basically what those 7 cooperative principles, what they imply and what is related to it in terms of service provision, so and so on. So hopefully that was the question. So I think it's the overall product we can take away. So, for example, banks are not only providing loans, but they are also providing saving products. They are also advisory service givers. They are also local sponsorship givers for community. So it's an overall package, not just in terms of banking aspects, but also of community aspects. For example, agricultural cooperatives, they can deliver farming inputs, marketing services, but they're also increasing the overall bargaining powers. So in all cases, it's the aim to meet the members' needs in a more holistic way, in a full way. It's not a one aspect service provision. It's an holistic approach. When we are talking about the cooperative principles, yeah, I mean, we can of course go through them a little bit. The 7 ICA principles. Voluntary open membership, in my opinion, means that these cooperatives are really open to all, that they are not exclusive to anyone. We have this democratic member control, so everyone has a voice, one member, one vote. These kind of aspects. Economic participation of members. That they are also those any profit a cooperative makes, that they are returned to members or they are being reinvested in the cooperative. Autonomy and independence, a very substantial point, that these cooperatives are really self-managed, even when they are maybe partnering with governmental institutions. I know that sometimes this cannot be avoided. What we just said, the education and training aspect, that's really important to provide the member capacity. Yeah, concern for community, it was just indicated. I mean, the main focus, in my opinion, still should be the economic aspect. Yeah, but then secondly, it can be through expressing social, cultural, and environmental contributions. And I think the last one was cooperation. Yeah, cooperation among cooperatives. So this is what we are doing today. So providing these networks, yeah, that strengthen the overall system, have the federations, etc. So I hope that was understood, that I understood the question correctly.
Yes, I really got some clarity now. So now I have one question directly from our Vice Chair, Dr. Cecil Krimstedt. So over to you.
Yes, so just in the colloquium is about both increasing collaboration, but also we are as part of the research committee. You know, I would like to know your thoughts around how can we as cooperative researchers support this collaboration or these types of collaborations? Or that's one question. And the second part of that question is, where do you see the need for more in-depth research that's useful to you? You know, we always think about research, oh, it's the ivory tower and it's not very useful. But maybe we can, you know, develop research collaborations that are useful to you or are useful to these projects.
Yeah, I would like to add with the Dr. Sistel speech that how can we complement to each other? I mean, yes, sir. Like in the saving and credit cooperative movement, especially there are the pulse monitoring system, which are being used to inspect the situation, financial situation of the saving and credit cooperatives. But we don't have any other monitoring or prudential standards in the consumer cooperatives or the dairy cooperatives or the multi-purpose cooperatives and other agriculture cooperatives even, yeah. So if we can collaborate to make that kind of prudential standards which is applicable even beyond the saving and credit cooperatives, yes sir. So that would be a great work for us here, not only for this Asia Pacific region, but for the whole world, I think. Yeah. Let's collaborate. Yeah. As a member of the research committee, I would also add like this.
Yes, right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, perfect. I think in some way you already answered the question. I think it's about sitting together and exchanging what are actually the needs. And I fully agree what you just highlighted, that we need to harmonize our approaches, and also harmonize our respective ideas on what we are actually what is needed for the cooperative systems in our respective countries. Where are the requirements? What should be key topics we shall intervene? I think if we identify 2-3 core topics that are relevant to each and every one of us, then we are already on a very good track. And that would be something maybe that is also relevant for the research committee to work on these points. Personally, I'm thinking about 3 topics that I think that are overarching important. One is, I mentioned it before, the topic of digitalisation. I think it will become more and more relevant for cooperatives, also when we are talking about AI, for example, especially also in the banking sector, but not only. There are many other sectors that it's important for. And then there's an issue we are facing here in Germany, and I don't know, maybe it's the same in your countries, you can let me know, that it's hard to reach out to new members. So actually the number of cooperators, of members is decreasing, especially for the younger generation. They are not really aware of cooperatives anymore, and they don't really see so many benefits in it any longer. So how to reach out to the youth and how to have the people engage with the cooperative system, that would be something I personally find interesting and relevant. So youth is another aspect, member engagement, but there are definitely other good points. What you just mentioned, Mr. Babul, that's very good as well. And I think what you're doing, Dr. Sitzel, from the research committee is already a very good start. Yeah, have elaborated on these topics, shared with us, so that we can learn from it. Maybe even the provision on trainings or on exchanges on a certain topic can help a lot. So, for example, Mona Lisa, you were mentioning the CDP. We had these so-called Tuesday talks. I found them extremely interesting and enriching. That was organizations providing information on themselves, on what they are doing, on how they are approaching certain challenges, for example. And it would be very interesting, I believe, to hear it also from the research committee, what you're thinking about a certain topic from your professional, because you're the professional people, you're actually the experts on different cooperative topics. That would be very interesting, in my opinion. Thank you.
I would like to add a few points as in terms of we are maybe a kind of just trying to understand the commonalities across all the nations or in the Asia Pacific region. So since I'm right now talking about the Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Platform, so I'm talking about in that angle where maybe a kind of a research or a short findings that could help us at least as a region to understand what are the different common priorities areas are there for the different cooperatives in a different region that will further help us to align, maybe to come up with a joint proposal together. So that commonalities understanding will help us to further move ahead. That's the one area. Of course, Corbinian did mention the same. And also, since we know when we talk about the cooperatives and there's so much challenges in terms of the resource mobilization, not just funding, but there's also like the human resource, there's some other kind of resources, challenges are always there. can we also try to understand the context in terms of the Asia Pacific region? Maybe a pilot study with the 10 countries, or maybe the 20 countries, just to pilot it with, and try to understand the different kind of opportunities, challenges are there in terms of the resources, and how and what will be the best way, or maybe not the best way, but I will not say the ideal way, but maybe the a kind of a point of entry for the cooperatives to start with. That kind of understanding will further also help us in the international development or the collaboration that right now today we are talking about. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Babul, Corbinian, and Mona Lisa. So, okay, so we have Ms. Samadani Kirivandenia from Sri Lanka, Senasa International Group. She wants to ask a question. Yes, Ms. Samadani.
Okay. Hi. First of all, thank you very much for the very interesting, in-depth, full presentation. I have actually two areas where I think researchers might be interested in, which is something that I am at the moment thinking about. When we are looking at the cooperative movement, that is, that's been in Sri Lanka and that's getting developed. One area that I am noticing is that most of the cooperative development is focused on institutional aspect of the cooperatives. So we are basically looking at digitalisation, enabling access, doing different tool improvements and product modifications and all that. But what I am realizing is that cooperatives are increasingly losing the visioning aspect of it. So when we are looking at the cooperative difference, if we are to present a different model to the market, I think that is one key strength we have. But very rarely this aspect gets researched into. That is, I think, very important, especially looking at the current political, economic context in the world. I think it would be very good if there can be some research that can be done to see, with the latest developments that are happening in the region, do the cooperatives retain its identity or losing it? That is one area. The other one is that it was interesting to hear that women cooperatives, women-led cooperatives, are better positioned in terms of sustainability. But one area again that I'm still hesitant to actually make that statement is that what I am realizing is that more and more women-oriented cooperatives are focusing on survival modes, like basically trying to implement financial businesses and things, and basically almost operating as if it's part of a banking modality. But the rest of the people, which is the men in the community, are increasingly moving away from the cooperatives, which is a problem in a way, because ultimately we operate in a community with men and women, and when the cooperatives are shrinking into more women oriented, which is very good. I mean, cooperative should be, but when it is more getting towards feminization, it should be that men also be part of it. But what is happening is that men are increasingly moving out of the cooperative, which takes us to the sustainability aspect, because most of the young men are not anymore interested to join cooperatives. So this is also an area I think we should do some more research. So these are two things that I thought I would just bring to the table from Sri Lanka.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Samadani. You mentioned and gave a lot of ideas actually for our research committee to look upon. So, yeah, sorry, we are running a little late, but there are two key questions that we would like to take up and address before we close the call. So first question is directed towards Dr. Sitsil. Uh, the question is, what is the most challenging aspect of running a business cooperative that focuses on member welfare also? And how do cooperatives overcome such challenges, and what systems are generally used?
That's a very a very big question, and I don't think there's one answer to that. But I guess trying to make the cooperative work towards member benefits requires good governance. Oops, what's happening? Yeah. So I think one of the most important things is that members know what the cooperative is about, what it's doing, what it's trying to do, and how members will benefit from the cooperative. And in the day-to-day governance, there needs to be transparency about what is happening to the cooperative. Without transparency and good governance, I think it's really hard to create good member relations and trust in the cooperative. That would be what I would say. What was the second part of the question?
The second part is how do cooperatives overcome such challenges, and what systems are generally used to do that?
Yeah. So there are many different types of systems, and it depends on what kind of technology or level of technology you are able to access. I have an example from the Sweeter Banana Cooperative in Australia. They are a cooperative of quite small banana farmers, and it's very competitive environment in Australia, and they were really fighting to get a small market share. But one thing that the CEO of that cooperative decided to do was that all market information was supported to all members in real time. She said, this is the market price, this is what we can sell it for, and this is what we can give you by taking a little share for the running of the co-op. And by having complete transparency in the economic running of the cooperative and the market, she said that's the only way I can manage so that to avoid what shall I say, infighting or negative stories about each other and who gets the more benefits. So she had a complete transparent, I think it was even just a WhatsApp group saying this is how we are running this. And that avoided a lot of problems inside the co-op because it was fully transparent. And also, if you had complaints as a member, you had to relate to the facts, so to speak. Yeah. So transparency, I think, is a really important part of it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Still. One last question that is directed towards Ms. Mona Lisa, as she is looking after the APCDP platform from our office. The question is, what are the barriers to successful international collaboration between cooperatives? So, Mona Lisa, as you are looking after this platform, which brings cooperatives on one from different countries together. So, would you like to answer it? Yeah, over to you.
Thank you so much, Naveen, for this question. And I would say it's a really important question to understand when we are talking about the international development. And the kind of, I would list down a few barriers that we could see, and we have already discussed now. It's more like me speaking a reiteration of these topics, but one of the most common barrier when we are talking about the international development is the missing of the platform or a lack of a platform where there's a information exchange is limited. So when we talk about the communication and the countries having members from different countries, and they're not really talking about and understanding what's happening in their country and what's going to happen, their priorities. So the kind of platform, absence of platform for such kind of communication is one barrier. Another barrier is also just to try to understand the different kind of common goals, or maybe a kind of, I would say, the commonalities that could be found and that we can understand by discussing and through the information exchange among these different member organizations or across the country. So this is also a kind of how we can bring all together all members across a middle path that can be a win-win for everyone. So that's also a kind of absence, try to restrict the international development. And there's also one few barriers that I could think of right now is how when we talk about the international development, but considering the funding and the sustainability issue, as Corbinian has mentioned in his presentation, when there's always a short-term lookout that we are looking for, but can we also look for something a long-term avenues and opportunities to collaborate, not just once, but it should be a repetitive mode going on continuous. So as for example, if you see the ICA-EU partnership agreement, it started in the year 2016, but now we are in the second phase, and it's almost like 10 years it's running around, and we are trying to create a kind of a space. And just to answer these barriers, we can overcome these barriers through a platform that we have launched right now, is the Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Platform, which basically is providing a space to have an information exchange, just to understand the priorities of the member and where they want to intervene, and maybe also to after understanding the priorities, we can also maybe have a kind of a joint pilot, any kind of project that could be implemented, and try to understand what the things could be done around. And it also going to be help us in advocating through the evidence-based research that we could do with the policymakers and other funding agencies. So that's a kind of a platform can also, this APCDP platform is going to be one of a solution. I would not say we are going to try the cater all the barriers, but of course, maybe a few of the barriers that I have mentioned could be catered through this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mona Lisa. And I hope this answered the query. And again, everyone can again reach out to Ms. Mona Lisa for further questions around the platform and how it is going to work for promoting cooperatives in the region. So now, sorry for long delay and long session today. But yeah, now we are about to close today's session. So for closing and before we close, so it's good to have some reflection and comments on the session what we had. So for this, it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Akira Kurimoto, who is the Senior Fellow of Japan Cooperative Alliance, who has experience of over 35 years in cooperative law, governance, and research. He's also former chairperson of the ICA-AP Committee on Cooperative Research. So we are truly honored to have him today with us. And now I would like to request Professor Kurimoto to just provide a small comment and reflection for today's session. Professor Kurimoto, floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
because of the time constraints, I will concentrate on only two topics. One is to Dr. Mertz about the German cooperatives. And in Asia, there are two very important legislation in Japan and India. In 1900s, the industrial cooperative law was enacted in Japan following Schulze-Delitzsch German law. And then based on the Raiffeisen idea, it was targeting to the agricultural and financial cooperatives in Japan. And then the next one was India. In India, the British Empire gave Indians first corporate legislation that is called Credit Societies Cooperative Credit Societies Act of 1904. That became the prototype of the corporate legislation in the developing countries, all followed by the British colonies and other European colonies. So, and even after the independence, their approach, top-down approach to cooperatives had been inherited by the new leaders of Asia. So that is why in Asia, still most of the apex organizations are very much top-down, inheriting the tradition of the German-based corporate legislation in India. That is called by Hans Münkner, the very famous Indian scholar on the corporate law, the British Indian pattern of cooperation. Still dominates most of the Asian nations. So that is one comment. Secondly, about the international development aid or technical assistance. After World War II, many Asian nations had been independent, and they have relied on cooperatives for their development, because there is nothing other than cooperatives and small and minor enterprises in those post-colonial nations. So the new leaders like Nehru in India or Nkrumah in Africa had relied on cooperatives as the engine of socio-economic development. That is why that kind of the cooperation prevailed in Asia and Africa. And there are many international exchange and technical assistance came to Asia, especially in 1960s. The ICA's office for Southeast Asia was created in 1960. And after that, many European or American donor organizations or UN agencies came to Asia. It's quite natural that Asia had needed such assistances from the North. So UN agencies like ILO, FAO, UNIDO, UNESCO, and others had extended great help to Asian cooperatives. That's quite natural. And then international development agencies like SEC from Sweden, Danida from Denmark, NORAD from Norway, and from United Kingdom, and from Canada, Desjardins, from United States, USAID, which had been disbanded by President Trump recently. But those development assistance from north to south came to Asia. That had helped very much. But I should mention here that there are some examples of south to south, or partly north to south. For instance, Japan. You may know IDACA, Institute for Development of Asian Agricultural Cooperatives in Asia. That had been created in 1962 and extended technical assistance to many Asian nations, especially cooperative leaders and government officers, for more than 50 years. That was very great. And even in the consumer sector, the JCCU, Japanese Consumers Cooperative Union, had created the Asian Cooperation Fund in 1988 to give the technical assistance to Asian colleagues in the fields of consumer cooperatives, university cooperatives, health cooperatives, and youth and women and youth. So in this case, JCC had paid all the cost. Of course, there are some matching funds from the Asian countries. Nowadays, not only in Japan, but also India, especially IFCO, fertilizer cooperatives, and Singapore, Malaysia, and Korea have joined us. So nowadays, such Asia to Asia technical assistance has become a very dominant route of assistance. But I should mention about the exit of technical assistance, as Dr. Metz insisted that there should be an end to such kind of the international development aid. That's quite natural. So nowadays, in the Asian Consumer Cooperative Project, not only Japan but also Singapore have given the great technical knowledge for management of the cooperative stores. So that is, in case of IFCO, they have given us the great assistance to the research committee. So we deeply appreciate the Indian such assistance. So nowadays, even within Asia, we have many examples of such collaboration between cooperatives and in Asian countries. So that is what I would like to convey to Dr. Meltz, that we are also doing such kind of assistance as you have done for India and Cambodia. We are making such efforts in many Asian countries. So that is my comments. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Korimoto. It was really interesting to know your thought and how JC and also Research Committee and ICA-AP is contributing to these factors. So now we have come to the close of the session. So I've shared one feedback link in the chat box. I will later share it over email also. So if you are like to give us some feedback for today's session, you can give. And yeah, just to close the session, we have one mandatory type of ceremony that we always try to do at the end. So what we do is actually we take a group photograph. So I would like to request everyone to switch on their cameras, and as we are going to publish these screenshots or social media, so a sweet smile would be very much required. So requesting everyone to switch on their cameras back, and so that we can take a quick click and post it about today's session or social media platforms too. Thank you. Yeah, cool, done. Thank you everyone for joining today. And yes, I'll be sharing the presentation that was presented today and the YouTube link for the recording later with you over the weekend. And hope to see you all again soon in the next Coop Colloquium that we are going to have somewhere around second week of October, and we'll keep you updated around that as soon as we finalize the details. So thank you everyone once again for joining us today and staying for almost 2 hours with us and listening to our speakers and giving your feedbacks and comments and making this session really wonderful and insightful. Thank you, and hope to see you again soon. Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Corbinian. It was very, very interesting. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you all
Dr.
for
Cecil.
joining.
Yeah, thank you very much for very
Mr.
organized and very
Corbinian.
good and impressive workshop.
That was amazing. Thanks for the facilitation. Yeah, to all of Dr.
Thank you,
Sitzel.
thank you, Corbinian.
It was also a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Sitzel. Hope we meet each other
Yes,
again.
I hope we meet further down the line.
Absolutely,
down the
and
track.
to all other colleagues here as well. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Take good
Bye-bye.
care. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.